Hello. So this is another demo of the intelligent workspace capabilities of the Solvent Works platform. Um, we'll do something a little bit more fun today. In other words, uh, not necessarily work related task, or it could evolve into something that you're actually doing for work, but just to showcase some possibilities here. So we'll switch. We're switching to the mobile interface to showcase this. You can do it in the desktop interface as well. Just wanted to, give a different angle to it. We'll open up one of our automations. This is my personal assistant. Yeah, so we'll clean that out. There's stuff in there. Just remove it. And we'll turn off speech just to make everything go smoothly. And I already have the prompt here. I could use speech to speak to it, but again, trying to keep this simple. We have a prompt here where we're going to ask it to create an application that will allow us to create SVG shapes. Um, tell it to give us a drop down that provides some options, and give it some leeway to be creative. Tell it to open up in the browser. So this is a just-in-time application demo, meaning it's actually going to create the app as we're trying to use it. Some folks call this vibe coding. I prefer, JIT is the name for that. Give it some additional instructions, and the second tier would happen once the app has been created. So this would be step 2 that will show. So let me copy this prompt here and paste it in here. I'm going to turn off a few more things. These are all things that you can set as automatic default. I tend to leave certain things on just to keep me sharp as I do the demos. Right, so in other words, in actual practice, you don't necessarily have to keep turning on tools or turning off tools. They can be part of the defaults for a particular automation. So we'll enable the web browser tool, and we turn off output motivation, and I think that should be sufficient to run this. Okay, so we'll click here. Let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so this is our just-in-time generated SVG application. Let's hit draw. It draws a circle. Change the color here. Mess with the outline. And draw again. See what the fill looks like. Okay. All right. We can change the shape. I've run these demos before. I can put other shapes in here as well. Basically, I told it to be creative, so this is the extent to which it's being creative. Other times, it can add fields to, mess with the outline, like the thickness or the shape, or the design of the outline. If you include stuff in the prompt, obviously, it will do that. But this is our simple app. So let's go to step 2, where we're going to use this app. We'll tell it to save the output. and email a message to our demo email address. So um, this second prompt here, basically we tell it to output SVG to a file, then embed what we've created here from the output and send it to an email address. Hopefully, it works. Let's hit go and see what it does. Actually, this would not work, so it's gonna have a hard time completing that. Let me do what I should have done before, which is to give it access to the necessary tools to do that. As I mentioned earlier, I leave these tools off because I'm doing these demos and the automations have them off by default, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can, by default, you can design automations that have all of these enabled by default. That way, you don't have to keep telling it to do it. You don't have to keep remembering to do it. All right, so we have this, blah, blah, blah. All right, so I'm gonna turn on dialog, which will prevent it from rerunning the core program here, right? So assistants have core programs associated with them, which is basically just core instructions to, specify what they're about. Once you run it the first time and you want to engage in dialogue to get it to do things, you turn on dialogue mode. That's another thing that can be automated as well, because if you're engaged in work, you don't really want it to have to constantly, remember to do that. All right. So now that I have given it tools, we'll run this prompt again. Let's see what happens. Okay, we'll review this. It seemed like it did everything we asked it to do. And if we check the email, here it is. Happy Doodle email is in here. The attachment is in there. Of course, embedding email images can be a bit tricky, so it didn't actually, at least Google did not allow for the embed. But here's the actual image, which we should be able to open up in the browser. It's asking me to download it. I wish I could just. All right, so we can actually, we'll take a look at the file system, which we have access to here. If I open this up, here's our drawing that it's saved, and I can then open this in the browser. All right, so it didn't generate the proper SVG that could just show in the browser. I think it's missing some of the meta structures on top of it. That's why it's giving that error. But, I did go through the steps that we wanted it to do. So anyway, this is another example of Intelligent Workspace. I'll run this one more time now that I've explained what's going on and see if we have what we get in terms of results. I'm going to leave all the tools on. So let's run the first prompt. To get it to create the application. Okay, but this time around, something slightly different and more shapes, as I mentioned earlier. See? This, hit draw. There, so it's not quite even as I want it to. Let's tell it to fix. Give it another shot and see what it comes up with. Alright, it's obviously still struggling here for this. We'll do the second prompt and see what the email looks like, if it does any better this time around. The intelligent workspace idea is basically a powerful environment where you can build automations. You know, I can do all kinds of things, including human-in-the-loop tools of this form. So we did get another email. Still did not do any better in terms of the email display. Let's see if, yeah, we still have the drawing picture there. Alright, we'll have to give up on this second demo, but I think this gets the point across regarding the intelligent workspace idea. This one is just for fun. I've shown examples of doing expense reporting and some other things. Thank you.